Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today we're going to go back to 1962. That's when this Shakespeare reel was made. This is the Shakespeare Freespool. It's model 1982, even though it was made in 62. It's the Sportcast model by Shakespeare. Shakespeare made a lot of these types of reels, but this one is a little bit unique in that it does have a release button here that when you push that button in, the reel will go to Freespool to allow you to cast, and then it will pop out when it's time to retrieve. That's a little bit like the Pfluger series. The Pfluger Supreme also had a release like that. We're going to take this reel apart. We're going to show you how to service it and well, how to keep it running for a long time to come. If you like these kinds of videos, I want to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to the channel, please use that notification button. It will let you know when I'm posting, and well, you can make a decision at that point as to whether that's a video that you would like to watch. Just looking for my parts tray, it kind of went away. Alright, we're going to start by taking off the pieces and parts. The Freespool mechanism is held in by this top nut. How do I know that? I went to a schematic. So I use Orca, the Old Reel Collectors Association. They have a lot of documentation on older reels. And I found the documentation on the Freespool. I did have a note here that the 1982 model has the shortest of the pillars for the Freespool model. So you may find something that's a little bit different, but what I found not only in the information, but more importantly, was the schematic. And you can see here it is. It's orcaonline.org. And here's your schematic. And it shows me what I can anticipate finding as I take the reel apart. And the piece that I'm really interested in is right here. It is that Freespool mechanism and gearing system. So I'm going to be following along with that if I find that I run into some trouble that can help me get out of the trouble. Something else that can also help you get out of the trouble is if you take pictures along the way. The pictures will help you with the orientation of the pieces and parts, and it'll give you a look at where you were at certain points. So if you're going to reinstall and maybe you've lost your way, just go back to the pictures. So take pictures at critical junctures. So we remove the nut, and we have a washer right underneath that. The washer has a little bit of tarnish on it. Again, this reel is over 60 years old, so yeah, it's going to have some tarnish, 63 years to be exact, I believe, if my math works. So just use the opportunity to clean the pieces and parts up. And when I take my pieces or parts off, they go into a parts tray. That's my way of organizing them. There's lots of different ways to organize pieces and parts. Just make sure you have one and are thinking about it before you start to do the work on it, because if you start laying them out on your table, they just kind of disappear on you quickly. The handle should come off, and there is a washer here. There is a drag washer sitting on that handle. I'm going to leave it right there. I'm going to try and replace that handle if I can find one. It's kind of an unusual handle, so I don't think I have one, but I do have some parts for some older reels. We'll take a look at that. On the back end of this, we have a metal washer, so don't confuse the two washers. The metal washer goes between the handle. The fabric or leather washer goes on top of the handle. And then we should be able to remove the star adjuster. It looks like that goes kind of the opposite way, so it'll go remove in a clockwise manner. Trying to figure out what I'm rotating here. I think I'm going to try to grab the inner shaft here. There we go. So you have the two shafts really. You have the shaft that's going to be moving in and out, and you have the shaft that's holding it to the case. Okay. With that out of the way, it looks like the next steps are to remove the 4 side plate screws. The side plate screws take smaller screwdriver blades. So I'm going to use a micro screwdriver blade. And my method of doing this is to keep these kind of lesser used tools nearby so that I don't need to stop my process, lose my train of thought, and then wonder, where did something go? On the screws, the first thing I like to do is to take them off. It's like I have a spinning bar here. It's like if something can go wrong, it will. Again, I'm going to use a kitchen scrubby here on that bar and a little channel lock and to mat it so that it doesn't roll as I go to take it out. You don't want to apply pliers right to the metal pieces. There's a risk that you can damage the finish on the bar. Okay, the first two screws are the same. And you always want to check that. You want to find out, is there one that's longer, shorter, wider, whatever. And then note that, if it is, what space it came out of. So 1962, made in the USA by Shakespeare. Shakespeare was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and this was a popular design. That should enable us to take the case off now, and we can see the inside section here. Now there's nothing you need to do on this free spool mechanism other than make sure it's clean. If it's not clean, there is this wishbone kind of a spring here that can be removed, and you can pull out that inner gear. But right now this thing's functioning fine. There's no reason that you need to do any adjustments on that. How does that work with the free spool? The free spool is going to push in here. It's normally engaged, and when you push it in, you're going to see that it pulls out a little bit and locks in until it gets turned and pulled back. This should pull off. This is your nylon main gear, nylon pinion gear, and a back port with a bushing on it. So it's a rather simple reel in terms of taking it apart and putting it back together again, with a little bit of a twist in that it goes into a free spool mode for you. I think if there's anything going on here, maybe that this and you don't need to do anything with the nylon gears. I'm going to put a little bit of oil on this side. You can put a little bit of grease on the back side that's going to sit in that housing case, exterior. It's a good time to take the opportunity to clean the inner surfaces of the reel that you can't reach when it's fully assembled. I'm just going to put a drop of penetrating oil on there. I'm going to grab my cotton swab. And do the mop up. While I'm doing the cleaning, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel, leave them in the comments section. I do try to answer those for folks. And maybe I can get you back on track if you're stuck working on something. Maybe you lost your way. Maybe the results didn't come out the way you thought it should, and you're wondering if you did the process correctly. I do try to coach and help you along. Just leave that there, and I'll do my best. All right, it's a drive. This one's going to mount as the drive for your line gear, and it's going to mount to drive your spool. It's a dual-purpose gear. We're going to put a little bit of grease on here. Again, nylon generally don't need it. I'm not going to over-grease it. It's always quiet because there's no metal really grinding away. Shakespeare's used it on this and several of the other direct drive reels that they had. You can just take that, put that right back on. then we can bring our cover back on. With the cover back on, we can install the 4 side plate screws. And it's interesting that your drag is the external drag. It's not inside the main gears, but rather it's operated on the exterior of the reel. When I put the screws in, I like to put them in kind of counter to each other here, kind of balance the case so that I don't over tighten or jam one side versus the other. So I'll go from that lower corner, kind of go over here. The problem that you have with these small screws is getting them started, and unfortunately the screw starter that I have doesn't handle a gap that small. I'll try a drop of grease. It's a temporary glue, if you will, to hold that screw. Seems to be doing the job. There we go. Get 2 of them in. This is the post that wants to turn. This time around you can hold it with finger pressure. Let's try that again. We've got 2 more of these. And come back down here. And then we'll put the last one in. We're having that same issue, kind of getting them started. Let's finish this one. Finish the last one. Looks like I got lucky and have just enough glue to kind of hold that in place. Make sure that's tightened down. Boy, that turns a lot easier just turning it by hand now. Well, we do have that pawl assembly in the line guide, so let's take that out, make sure that's clean as well. To do that, you remove the tie-down screw on the plate, and then generally you can pull the pawl and the plate out at the same time. And you want to check the pawl to make sure that the shoulders are clear. They are. And that it's in good condition, which it is. Simply reinstall. Simple is an understatement here. If you have big fingers like I do, use pliers to seat the pawl into the carrier. What I like to do is hold my finger on the pawl now and turn to make sure that it's working, which it is. And then I got to get it over to the side so that I can put the little clip back on. The clip has 2 holes, one's bigger than the other. The big hole goes over the pawl. And we're dealing with these small screws again. See if we can manage to get that in. And I'm going to use a little bit of fishing reel grease as the glue. So we're all good there. Next step then is the star adjuster. And once you get it squared up, tighten it down. And remember your sequence. You have the large metal washer. You have here a handle, top washer, so what's going to happen with this drag now is as you As you move your star adjuster towards the handle, it's going to clamp down. That's going to hold the inner shaft tight, and that's going to enable us to have the drag capacity that you need. If you loosen it up by turning it away, you will have less. Let's tighten that up. Tighten this down. And put a drop of oil onto the worm gear. We did check the other piece. We should be ready to go. Now, Bobby, I'd like to find your replacement handle. I don't have one at this time. I'll keep my eyes open for one, and if I find one, we'll be able to send that out to you. In the meantime, it's unfortunate that these plastic knobs, well, they age, they shrink onto the posts. That's the first indication they don't turn. Then eventually they crack. But that's it. This is your Shakespeare Sportcast number 1982, made in 1962, with the Freespool, enabling you to cast away. I hope you've enjoyed that. It's always fun working on these oldies but goodies. Well, before I leave, I want to thank our first responders, our police, fire, safety, rescue, everybody involved in keeping us out of harm's way. I truly appreciate your efforts day in and day out. I want to thank everyone for watching. I want to thank those of you that have subscribed, and I want to encourage you, if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It gives you access to the videos that I post in a timely manner. You'll get to see what's being posted, and you'll get to decide whether that's a fishing reel or a technique or something you want to learn about in the fishing industry. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, wishing everybody a great day.